All right, welcome everyone. We are Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Hajime No Ippo, Season 3, Episode 8.
All right.
We've got a vampire in our midst.
We do some Wolverine-looking vampire-looking...
It's out for
very
blood.
Terrifying, yes.
Yeah. And he really doesn't have any problem breaking the rules.
No.
Now, that is the exact opposite of Ippo, but it also means that Ippo, just because he's number 3, does not mean you can underestimate him.
Yep. He essentially has never lost a fight.
Right.
Like, all the losses
really.
that he has are based around him intentionally breaking the rules.
Yep.
Knowing
that it will make him lose the fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing of where he's probably really close to being, kicked out of boxing, but...
Right. But he's
not
just
yet.
barely able to toe that line.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Ippo...
This is the kind of person that will require Ippo to actually, take this, really, really seriously right out the gate, but also be something where he'll be able to channel potentially some of his aggression even, because this is someone that he could end up getting, really, upset that they're actually someone that does this.
Right. Ippo is a wholesome boy, so he doesn't get angry easily, but if he were to get angry at someone, this would be a great example.
Yeah.
But the thing is that just winning isn't enough for Ippo, because you also need to not have your eye gouged out or something.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So what
in addition
I'm
to
hoping,
the stuff with the Dempsey.
Definitely. And what I'm hoping for is that Ippo will find some way to garner this guy's respect. So it won't come down to a thing of where he feels like he needs to end this guy's whole career and Ippo's whole career.
Yeah.
But that withstanding, the fact that he went to Sendo and basically critiqued him on how poorly he did, and Sendo sees him as an equal, as a sparring partner.
Right.
This guy is legit.
Yes.
He is absolutely legit. And we'll have to see not just how dangerous his counter moves are against the Dempsey, but also just his
personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what comes
bit.
out in the fight.
Yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right, Sawamura.
Yep.
You are a vampire, but you are also a mad dog, and the fact that they're really
why.
Right, the fact that they're really zoning in on this, I think, is important because we got basically. I said in the bit at the end of the episode, it's a little bit of an awkward bit of exposition because these people should know about it, so they're saying this more for the audience. Just understand that's why I was saying it. Is that they're saying, oh, when you were abandoned by your mother and stuff, it's like, oh shit, well that's really bad. But what this is an example of where when you have a dog that's abandoned, mad, if you will, it can end up biting people who are trying to help them.
Sure.
Thus, ends up pushing them away, and he's really isolated. However, the issue is that it's not the fact that he's alone anymore that's the problem. The fact is that he's dead set in this way of that he tears into his meat, and he chooses his meat in some ways indiscriminately.
He still believes he's starving when he doesn't have to be.
Yes,
and it definitely gives benefits in the ring. Like, my God, but as far as his personal journey, it definitely has problems, and that's something that I really appreciate how they're handling this because, again, with how he's brought up, he is the most villain, bad guy character we've seen, other than maybe Hawk, right?
Yeah, Hawk and him are.
They're pretty much like this.
Pretty much up there. I don't think there's any other boxer at Ippo's face that was
close. we thought maybe Mashiba back when he was introduced, but this is a whole other thing.
Mashiba's way better than this.
That's kid gloves compared to this, right? So the fact that then the show is able to basically say, and I love the introduction of the math teachers coming in because it's so utterly contrary to what we would expect, right?
Right.
Even his coach is terrified of him, right? Yep. And then we see this teacher come in, and he's excited to see him, and he's like, I follow your matches. Wait, you've been keeping up with his matches. You haven't noticed the times when he was gouging people's eyes out and stuff?
Yeah, he's trying to ignore it.
Right, trying to ignore it, right? And then it's okay, now then when he sees him, he realizes, shit, right? Because then he feels like he failed because he tried to be the family, the one that cared about him, the pack, if you will, that he didn't have, and he wasn't able to be it, right?
Yep.
Whether it was because he failed or because, you know, Sawamura didn't accept it or whatever, right? But in the state that he is now, he is a mad dog, right? He's a hungry animal that is just looking for the next bit of meat that he can tear into. Yep. And that's a great polar opposite for Ippo, but then it's also a great way to bring Volg back into the story because he's also the opposite of Volg because, you know, the dog versus the wolf has a pack, the wild dog doesn't, and Volg had his mom even though she's gone now, but, you know, but he's still in a good place in spite of that.
And he spent 2 days searching through Japan looking for his other pack member. Yeah. He's like, where do you live, Ippo? Like, I don't know your number. I don't know, like, your email address. I don't know how to contact you.
Also, I want to point out, right, they also used food to, you know, some pretty some pretty cool extents, strong parallels here, right? Because the mad dog, one, he's eating a steak, right? You know, it's like that's good stuff, but he's not satisfied, right? He's facing all these other boxers, but no, it's garbage, right? They won't slake his lust. So you know, for battle and everything. So now we also see Volg, who doesn't have anyone that he's fighting, right? He's I don't have any fangs, you know, all that stuff, right? He eats food that Ippo's like, no, don't serve him that. That's a bit of a weird dish, right? Right. And he's like, no, and even though he didn't find it, you know, appetizing, shall we say, it was still something where in that moment he was utterly satisfied with the fact that he was able to be here with them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I love that stuff, like that wholesome stuff that we always did get from Volg and everything. That's one of the reasons I loved him so much as a character. So the fact that he's back, I'm super glad, just because I love his character, but also the relevance to what's going on with Ippo's upcoming matches. Excellent.
Amazing. I have to ask because that was hilarious. Did you use the word slake instead of sate because it rhymes with steak, or did there end up being some other reason?
No, it is a word. It's not a word that's used commonly, but
I know, but I just looked it up, and apparently it's used for drinking only. Sate is more of the thing with regards to just general stuff.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure slake doesn't mean that, but I'm like, what is that?
It was purely used from context of and reference to Pirates of the Caribbean, when you know, and all the physical pleasure of the world could not slake our lust.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But and he does have bloodlust.
Right.
So thus slake does work extra well. I just had to know because I was like, I forgot what that word means. Yeah. And then I went and looked it up.
And you know, I was totally meaning this when I used that word, but it's also because of his vampire aesthetic, right? It is drinking it in.
Yes, indeed.
I intended to. That word choice was very well thought out.
Because he's not actually looking to
be satisfied.
Well, no. He's not looking to swallow the meat, if this makes sense.
Yes, he's just looking to chew.
He's just looking to experience the texture.
Right. That's why
I'm honestly getting hungry right now.
No, I know, me too. He was eating that steak in a rather interesting way, but I could definitely go for a steak right now.
I could as well.
Yeah, like
the carnivore side of my omnivore status is very much like ready. Oh yeah. Just what? Are we chewing? Yes. Are we chewing good meat now?
Mad respect to vegetarians and vegans everywhere, but I could not do that. Like I need meat. So
stars can't do it. Not today.
Right.
All right. And while he is a mad dog, there is this aspect about him that he sought out the math teacher.
Yes. Or wait, did he?
Did he?
I think the math teacher might have come. Well, either way, he was excited to see the math teacher. He actually met with him. This is something that I was really surprised by because the idea of him having once had that kind of connection with this person, right? Okay, I get that, right? Sure. But the fact that, he did.
He did, yeah. He literally pulled up to the school
Yeah.
In his motorbike.
He's looking for approval here.
He's looking for connection.
Right. It's the
you're familiar.
You're familiar, and surely you at least will accept me because no one else has. I was abandoned by my mother. So now, this thing that you set me on this path of, where I was able to find a place where I think I belong, even though he's still doing it in this whack way.
He's kind of thanking him.
He's thanking him, and it's basically saying, I did it. You know, yeah, so thank you for setting me on this path.
Right.
Now, you know, the teacher is also like, okay, I'm seeing, okay, the proof is in the pudding. I can't really ignore it anymore.
Right.
I'm not sure what to do about that, but yeah, this is kind of as a result of what I did. But
I'm actually kind of curious to think, he said he was keeping up with his matches.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder, I would assume he would.
Oh, but that might not necessarily mean like watching tapes of the matches. It's like reading about them and things like that.
Yeah. Which basically would lead me to think that he didn't actually see all of it. Meaning like he knows that he's a problem boxer, maybe.
Right, but he wouldn't know to what degree. Because if you hear about stuff like that, it's like, well, they might be doing a particular spin on the match or whatever, you know. There was, you know, the first contact that was made by the other person, you know, as opposed to, you know, seeing the match and having the person be like, oh no, I'm sorry, you know, that's totally my bad, you know, and then
So I almost wonder in some ways if he was really, really feeling the guilt the whole way through from the beginning.
Oh.
Or if it was a thing of where, as he saw who he was now, he's like, oh, shit. Like, I really, really shouldn't have passed you off.
Yeah, or at the very least, there were some other things that weren't addressed by me doing this.
Oh,
I gave you a place where you were able to, in some ways, yes, deal with the fact that he was abandoned and stuff. It is a vent for that, but it's.
I just realized.
What?
I just realized this is very familiar.
What?
The idea of having someone that you end up taking care of, but then you eventually have to let them go, and you just hope that you've done the best part, and where you
Old Yeller. Yeah, like I
was meaning like actual people, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I was thinking with the whole Mad Dog thing. Yeah.
Oh.
like. Like, you know.
Yeah, I see.
Like,
I'm sorry. I was so lost when you said Old Yeller. I'm like, the what? What? No, like, I was being serious. Like, I'm talking about the idea of when you have people that you know, and we have very unique situations like this, Jacob, where we have helped people and been in that situation where you can't force a person's decisions as to how they choose to live their life. And while you might be able to give a lot to them, there comes a point where they go, okay, I've grown beyond you. I'm going to go be free and independent. Where do you recommend I, you know, kind of seek that out? And you try to do your best with that, but then you meet up like, you know, 7 years later and you're like, who are you? What happened?
Right. Trauma can't be discounted because that shit stays with you.
It stays with you
and the fact that, like, we also don't know how old he was when he was abandoned by his mother. Now, regardless, it's fucking traumatic, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that he is in this level of an extreme state, right, where, like, in a lot of ways,
probably end up in jail. Actually,
definitely. Yeah.
Logically, that's where he'll probably end up.
Yep. The fact that he isn't already is probably just because
he's a boxer.
Because he's a boxer, right?
Yeah. And thus his violence in the ring is more just something that they'll handle because it's something where you're expected to have violence in that.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. He literally has a sport that is a battle sport.
Right. Even though he's doing things that are not sanctioned by the sport, because the violent things that he's doing is within the realm of that sport, where that's something that is to be expected, if not to that degree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of someone chucking their bat at the pitcher in baseball. You're going to get fined,
right?
But you won't immediately get chucked out of the league necessarily. You might be like suspended for like a amount of time. Whereas you're also not going to get arrested.
Right. Whereas if someone, you know, on the street were to take a baseball bat and chuck it at somebody,
yes, then you would probably get arrested. Yes.
You know, yeah. But so in this situation, I wonder if the angle that they're going to take with this, and you know, the show might not, you know, totally doesn't have to.
Right.
But the impression that I'm starting to get now is that this is the anger of a child.
Ooh.
This is the anger of a child that has basically grown and festered, and now it has way more consequences. But it's the and I'm not saying that as a way to downplay it,
discount it,
discount it at all, right? But that this is something that comes from a place that goes so far back. That's why it's so simple.
Yeah,
so foundational to who he is as a person at this point.
Exactly, it can't be just uprooted with
right.
You know,
and if there's any kind of positive result of this match for Sawamura as a person, whether it happens within the match or as a result of the match, right? It would be that maybe he would start to realize at least that this is a thing, right? Yeah. Because this kind of struggle seems to come from the fact that, or not struggle, but conflict, problems, all of that is because he doesn't realize how much this has affected him.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Because once you acknowledge the problem, then you can actually hope to address it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, because of ignorance, pride, whatever,
it won't.
It'll just continue to get worse.
Yep, and with what we've got set up for him, it will probably be something that will have to be handled post-match. I really would like to see Ippo just absolutely crush him, though, because I really, really dislike people that abuse rulings in sports to enact petty violence. This is one of the things that I've experienced a couple times. There are very few instances of this being a legitimate, like a legitimate problem. But in pickup sports in general, you won't ever see any actual like physical violence in any kind of this with something like, especially the sport I play, Ultimate Frisbee, which is not contact.
Right.
But what you will see is you will basically see accidents happen. And the thing that's tricky is when you see a certain person causing the accidents multiple times, it can create a situation where you're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is this negligence? Most likely, on some level.
In which case, there still needs to be something that's addressed and changed.
But it needs to be something that's addressed. But then there's the other angle of where you're like, well, wait a minute. Is this something where if they're confronted on it, they get really, really defensive about it? Thus, maybe it might be a little bit more than just negligence. And we had a couple instances like that I've seen in pickup sports in general with this, where we had someone who wore pretty decent cleats and stuff. They weren't metal, but it was just an instance of where we saw too many times with their steps that they would be getting people's feet and their ankles and their shins and stuff. And it was it was a really bad situation where a couple people had been like hurt, like really hurt. And you know, they came back like 2 weeks later. Right. But it was 2 weeks where they couldn't run. And we had a confrontation with the person, and it was something where it's like, like, yeah. It wasn't something where they automatically were like, oh, yeah, I acknowledge the problem and will make efforts to change it.
Right, because I feel like there's the times in those situations where someone gets called out on something and they know that they're doing it intentionally and they don't want to be called out on it, and then it's that kind of confrontation.
And then they could end up still backing away, being like, oh, yeah.
Sure, right. But then there's the ones where maybe it's a subconscious thing where they don't realize that maybe that's something they're actually like, that
they're putting some kind of pattern in place that makes them do it more often.
Right, that they're somehow allowing that to happen because of subconscious behavior, and then they don't want to address the fact that maybe there is some part of themselves that they don't want to look at that is causing that to happen.
Right.
So then when they're confronted on it, then they get super defensive because it's the, I'm not going to look at that part of myself. How dare you bring that up?
Yeah.
So, or insinuate such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all what we can get from him, because oh my gosh, that's
there's
just,
a lot of stuff there.
Mess that's going to be unveiled or unpacked over the course of this upcoming match. But Ippo, he bumped into Volg.
Yes.
Volg being just one of the most wholesome boys in all of boxing in this show. He's just a wonderful guy. And his mom passed away. Like, okay, but like, I'm happy that he's coming back to boxing, but like...
He seems to be handling it okay, but damn. Yeah.
Also, just the idea of him wandering about is just, But then when he comes to Ippo's place and stuff, and he's like, oh, this is the kind of food that he just wouldn't have in general, and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I don't think his flashback to his mother was because the natto was something that he had. No. It was because it was the idea
heart
of
behind
something that was a little bit of an awkward little mother's dish where it's like, it's not that good.
Right.
It's not that, it's your favorite thing or anything like that. It's just that this is something I wanted to kind of just bless you with. You haven't experienced this. I want to give you something that'll be like, this is from me to you.
It was still made for you,
And, his whole thing of wanting to come back home and eat her food and stuff.
Like, this is, it very much made me feel like that one scene in Erased where I think Kyle was the girl's name or something, but and then it's just the, food, start crying, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
like that, like
I can see the gif in my mind right there. But you realize what this was doing here? What Volg represented here? You mentioned the whole, what's the difference between a mad dog and a wolf is that one has a pack and one doesn't. Well, the thing is that what's the other big difference between Volg and his mom might be gone,
but she loved him.
But she loved him and stuck with him and provided for him and cared for him. In some ways, making him the mama's boy of boxing.
Right.
And yet, once she's gone, she abandoned him in that she passed away.
Yeah.
It, if anything, spurred him on to just find that next...
Cherish the memories of her. And,
yes, exactly, but find that next pack. He didn't then go into any kind of despair because he had that rich history beforehand.
Yep. Even
if that's how he was able to go with all that rich history, how much more so if it was someone that not just abandoned them maybe when they were young, but who's to say there might have been some other things going on that caused her to abandon him?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, we don't know if there was a situation with a father, maybe.
Yeah, there could have all been all kinds of situations there, but when it comes right down to it, if he was real young when it happened, he's not going to understand that.
Nope.
Even if he isn't young. Like, it's there might be a good reason for it, but that doesn't make it hurt. Or not hurt.
Make it not hurt, yeah.
Right.
So, I got you. Okay. Dempsey roll, though. It's weak to counters. We know this.
Right.
But the idea of the blind angle.
Yes.
Wonderful. Love it. It just gets at exactly what we want with regards to the mechanics.
Because Ippo is terrifying, right? Like we see it in the OP, with red eyes and everything. It's like, no, you don't want to be trapped in a ring with that.
That's what it looks like when it's coming at you.
Yeah, exactly. And because there were some parts of this episode where it was I was sort of feeling like, yes, it's been said before that counters are the weakness of the Dempsey roll. You don't need to build up to that again,
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, oh, what's the weakness of the Dempsey roll? No. Okay, so the weakness is counters. How would you counter it?
Right, exactly.
But the fact that we then got into the details of no. Here's why, yes, counters are the weakness, but why Ippo has been able to get this far in the first place when counters are the weakness.
Yep.
Because once it starts, it's over, right? If it actually starts connecting, you're done, right? Yep. But like in Shimabukuro was an exception in that case, right?
Truly an exception.
Cream of the crop as far as endurance goes that made him able to actually take those hits, right? But with counters, yes, it takes someone with either such incredible precision like Miyata that they're able to just do it, or potentially that mad dog set of nerves so that when you don't see it coming, you're not flinching, right?
No.
You're just cold execution.
And that's just the fact that we got to see him do it, but he was doing it so over dramatically that he was coming at him from a full 90-degree angle, even though we're talking in 45-degree angles.
Right. You know, just on the barest edge of your vision kind of a thing, not completely in the blind spot.
Yeah. But the idea that Ippo also arches his back and his body in such a way to conceal the angle of the punch, in addition to the fact that he's coming on an approach that is right on the border of his peripheral vision.
So even if you do see it, you're not realizing how it all lines up until the last second.
Yeah. And that's something that's really scary for not just any of the boxers, but just on a human level, to have something suddenly come into your vision like that, where it's like, wait, no. There's not supposed to be anything that just surprises me like that. That's perfect. Yeah. Also, I love the joke of the two Aoki, Team Aoki basically surprising Itagaki with the hey, like, you know.
Right.
And he puts his hand just right there to give it back, and he's being socially awkward, so he puts his hand, like, you know, way too close, like right up here. And it's like, oh, that's a little awkward.
Well, notice even when Caleb did that, I looked to the side to be like, all right, where is it? You know?
Where is it? Yeah. Right. Even, thankfully, you can see right here.
Yes, that is true. Right. Yeah. But you know, even with my brother, right? And so having it be also from these two, you know, doofuses who definitely couldn't pose any physical threat to Aoki. Right.
Yes.
But even then, or not Aoki. Freaking Itagaki. Itagaki.
No, we got you.
And I love how Itagaki and everybody was working to help people out, but also using it as a way to refine their own boxing. That was good stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, how much more so with Ippo? Is it like, I don't want to get close to that. So,
right, and then just the knowledge that if you flub the counter.
Right. Exactly. You're done.
You're done.
You're dead.
Because you're bringing everything into that, you know, counter as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Even if you're not, and it's just a jab to the purpose of breaking the rhythm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
And hey, do you have any predictions on a Dempsey roll evolution that makes a lot of sense? Because I have one. And I think I mentioned it in the actual episode reaction.
The most I could... Okay, here's something I could see it being. I don't know how well this would actually work, but given the fact that it's a metronome, right? That also gives Ippo information that the counters will be coming at specific times, right?
No, they will be coming. Oh, specific times plural. Yes,
right.
They'll be coming at those times, when you become the most predictable in the metronome, which is usually when you're at the max extension on either side, because you spend the most time in those areas.
Right. So because it's that predictable, Ippo then has windows of these would be the best times to counter the Dempsey roll, right? And since the Dempsey roll is dangerous, you'd want to do it at the best times. You wouldn't want to take risks and things like that.
Right.
And because he's working based on rotation, there's a part of me that wonders if he would be able to throw in, like, you know, loop, you know, and do like an extra little loop there, and so that way the timing's thrown off, and then he comes in and is able to connect.
Yeah. So the idea of adding the figure 8 into basically an extra 8, you know, kind of swiggly there, I like that. I wanted to bring up the idea of you lose too much power if you change the way you're twisting your body in that regard.
Sure.
And I don't think he can just switch that up overnight, but I think one of the most dangerous things about the actual Dempsey roll is the fact that if you get them stunned while doing it, you know, you get that brief half second to wind it up, you can start the actual momentum of your punches going into them, and a counter doesn't do anything at that point. They're taking so much damage that they're recoiling from it, trying to just get their defenses up so that they can make another hit.
Sorry, say that again. So
meaning that if the Dempsey roll connects at all, a counter becomes not effective because they're now dealing with the blow,
whatever the disorientation is,
and then the next one comes in. So therefore, in the same way that if Ippo fires off the Dempsey roll with a punch and gets countered, he loses. If Ryuhei fires off a counter and it doesn't connect, the Dempsey roll will then follow through and obliterate him. So Ippo, logically, the thing to do is to not fire the Dempsey roll. just out-intimidate him and keep moving around him and just wait for him to fire off into his blind spot and miss. Because while he might have it perfectly here in sparring, if Ippo never fires, he's not bringing his own weight fully into the counter, which means the counter itself might not be strong enough.
So basically, dodge because he's not fully necessarily committing, but keeping in that state where he's in that perpetual wind-up.
It's the only way to win is not to play. Like, this is some war game scenario. The first person to fire the missile
loses.
The whole world loses, you know?
Okay.
So in this case, Ippo, if you can stay in, like tight on him there, and use your rotations to be something that, you know, you could get countered on those rotations. That is some good motion there. But the really dangerous part is when you bring the Dempsey roll into the punch, and if he counters on that, you then feel the Dempsey roll's momentum put into the punch that's coming right at you. So I think that the best way to do this is actually to just keep going in at him and make this a mental game.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's a basic.
I like the idea of it. I'm curious how it would end up working out, because there's an element of it where it's basically trying to get the other person to mess up.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm not sure how sustainable that would necessarily be against the super high-end boxers, because the way I'm thinking about this is that this is the practice bit, so that way he can actually go up against Miyata and win, right? Because Miyata, as it is right now, would absolutely destroy him. So in some ways, Sawamura is basically the warm-up, the sparring for Miyata. Right?
Yeah, different personality, but same terrifying potential in a punch that would just end the whole fight in one thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So whatever Ippo figures out here, I'm guessing it's going to work not just against Sawamura, but also against Miyata, or at least be potentially compatible.
I don't think it's going to work perfectly. That's why I'm bringing up ideas that are kind of the, what can he do legitimately in a short period of time? The way that Kamogawa basically said, you're not going to evolve this overnight. So just stay here, focus on the fundamentals, and you work on your strengths, so that I really think this could be it, is that if he counters him, make sure he counters him on something where he can't get that much of a hit into it. Like, channel some date energy into it. Something where you're actually, like, maybe even weaving your head a little bit in a unique way that's counteractive to the metronome.
Sure, so or smothers his counter or something like that. Or
sure, exactly.
I don't know, I get the feeling that probably wouldn't work because of the double thing, but...
yeah, possibly. But, if he basically forces him to only be able to use, like, a quick jab, basically, to break the momentum of the Dempsey roll, then that's something that's not going to make Ippo take too much damage. So I'm just, yeah. But great setup. This guy is terrifying, intimidating, and while we are very certain Ippo's going to win, there is a lot about this fight that is not not about winning. I like that you brought that up in the previous episode, that this fight is about whether or not Ippo's going to walk out of this, you know, able to see out of his left eye. Whether he's going to have any blind angles.
And will Sawamura maybe, just maybe, be able to grow and let those old wounds heal a little bit.
Or just ask for help.
Sure.
Just basically just take the math teacher who's probably going to show up to this match now because he realizes how bad things are. And if, not just if Ryuhei or Sawamura loses, but if he comes out of the fight, like, literally, like, beaten to a pulp, like, because I could see, like, basically it ends up being a thing where his mad dog energy gives him, like, extra tenacity. So he takes the Dempsey roll probably, like, at least once or something, and he's beaten, like, it hurts, but he's like, I'm gonna still fight and stuff. And when the fight's over and they're both, you know, swollen up and everything, he can be like, hey, like, did you at least have a good time? Like basically he kind of appeals to that part that he loves boxing, but tries to encourage the part that has nothing to do with the hatred or the lashing out or the there's just the violence of it.
You're talking about the teacher going to Sawamura. Yeah. Because I feel like this is the kind of thing where I want, like, a warrior resolution, you know, like if you've ever seen the movie Warrior.
But
because he's fighting Ippo you know, like the connection point isn't in the ring. They don't have a
relationship. Yeah.
Right. They don't have a relationship. The relationship is with the math teacher.
It's who's in his corner.
Right. It's who's in his corner. What's going to happen maybe when he loses. But yeah.
But y'all, okay. Thank you all so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Yes, so we stream Monday through Friday. The information for it's in the description, but for the gaming stuff, Caleb, I'm
playing Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, and then I'm playing Persona 4 Golden.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.